Welcome back to another episode of Business is Pleasure. I am your host, John L. Francis, / co-owner of the Clarendon Trading Company, with Colette, who is your host / co-owner of the Clarendon Trading Company. So if you guys realize I changed it up this time, because every time I'm editing the podcast, it's always, and welcome back, and welcome back. So this time I want to change it up a little bit for you guys. Do a little, hey, hello. So, I thought it was cool. I'm going to see how it is when I actually watch it. Maybe we'll keep it, maybe we won't, but we'll figure it out from there. If this is your first time checking out Business is Pleasure, thank you guys so much. Hopefully we have a bunch of information that's valuable, or at the least, hopefully entertaining for you guys. Every week on I'm getting my shows mixed up because we have so much shows. Every week on Business is Pleasure, Colette and I just like to review what's working for us, review what's not working for us, what can we do to improve the business, and just really talk about the business as a whole. And every so often we'll sprinkle a little bit of our relationship stuff, that's what's going on and everything. But the way we always start the show is, how was your week? Why are you so sleepy, babe? What's going on?
Why'd you make that face when I yawned?
Yeah, because I'm like, why's she so sleepy for?
That's rude.
I'm like, why is she so sleepy?
That's
and by the way, guys, if you're only seeing the audio, if you're only listening to the audio version, you messed up. Colette looks sweet this week. Okay. Sweeter than usual,
Stop.
Usually she looks good, but she did a little ting with her hair just recently, guys, and she looks sweet. Sweet. So, yeah, Colette's really good. I got a little haircut too, guys. I ain't no scruffy McTuffy over here either. I'm looking all right too. I'm looking all right. But yeah, babe, how was your week?
My week was good. What did I do? I don't know, just like usual stuff. We're like preparing for all of our events. We're working on some PR stuff for some upcoming events. So that was kind of cool. And then, just like regular day-to-day business stuff. Organizing all the shows or events coming up. Trying to get the 2019 tour schedule.
Yeah. For all the money tour, guys, which is currently going on as we speak.
Yeah, trying to get that down packed so, everything's smooth running. We have a show coming up. What's our next show? Boston?
Yeah, Boston.
So kind of trying to organize everything for that. I feel a little bit uneasy, not going to lie, because I don't know, because I feel like last year I used to be more hands-on with the planning of all of our events. I wouldn't let you I wouldn't send the tickets directly to your account. I just send them to my account, and then I'd forward them to you, and I'd have this nice little comfortable bubble. And now I don't know, I guess you've been kind of taking your own reins, and I've been putting your email in and a lot of this stuff. But for some reason it just makes me anxious.
Yeah. I think it's just changed because sometimes it's just hard for us to adjust or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think probably by this time around when I go to Boston, you'll be like, okay, I'm over it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know
what I mean? And also maybe you're just worried for me because I'm going alone. You're like, I miss my babe. I'm sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm a fool sometimes.
And sometimes I just get worried that you'll lose something because,
Imagine I lost my passport in the
track
States.
record. Let's not talk about it.
No, you have to do. What would I do? Would I go the Canadian embassy? What would I do?
Yes, that's
right away.
Yes, you would have to go to the embassy.
That's crazy. How long would that take?
I don't know.
But honestly, it can't take that long because if they can get a passport made in one day, why can't they just forward my documents over ASAP?
Babe, I don't know. Let's not just don't lose your stuff.
Why are you worried? I might lose my stuff just so we can test it out. We can see how resilient we are. I might just lose a thing,
Okay, let's not talk about this. But yeah, it just makes you a little bit anxious sometimes. That's why when you're away, I call you so many times.
You don't call me at all. You're like, I'm so happy that you're going around. You're like, I got so much time to do stuff. I wasn't annoyed. It's not gonna bother me. Even last week, I came back you were happy to see me for half an hour, then you went back to being me and regular old Colette.
Because you did something that annoyed me.
And I didn't do anything. I literally sat down and I was vibing out with you. You're like, see, that's why I like it when you're gone sometimes. I was like, what, babe? I've been home for an hour.
You did something.
We had a quick honeymoon stage and then you went right back to reality. I knew it wouldn't last for long anyway.
Okay, but anyways, I miss you when you're away. And I think about you and I worry about you, so just don't lose anything.
Baby, you look good right now.
Okay.
You look sweet.
Stop.
I keep looking at you. You look sweet.
Okay, relax.
Ooh, oh my gosh. So my week, how was my week? I don't know. I feel since I've been running the business full time, Analytics are literally all the same. It's like, I know a lot of people talk about the idea of business. You can like create your own schedule. You can do whatever you want, which is extremely true. But for me, I like spontaneity, but I'm really a strategic and systematic person for my lifestyle for the most part. You know what I mean? And I think the plan that we've put together for like running the business, having different days for photography, different days to make content, it's worked really well. Well, it's like I complained the whole time about like, oh, I don't want to work for a corporation. But like the system that we have set up is like essentially a corporation, you know what I mean? But it's good though, because like we get to dictate that and we get to control that.
You have control. I feel like a lot of the times like when people have like a negative perception towards like working for like a corporation or like having that like
or the man.
Yeah, like having that like 9-to-5 job, it's not necessarily like what you're doing, but it's just like the how. Like you're always like accountable to someone. Like everything that you do is like scrutinized and analyzed, and if you make even like the smallest mistake, there's potential that it could be so detrimental to like so many things. You could lose your job. If you lose your job, you can't pay your rent. You have no place to live. Like there's so many like snowball things that are really, really big things that sometimes when you work for someone else, you feel like you don't have control over. So I feel like it's more so that than like what you're actually doing, because like realistically, like a large part of running a business is doing a bunch of stuff that you don't want to do anyways.
No, 100%. Or like doing things that you're not even qualified to do.
Or like just doing things that like you don't care about. Like they're like running a business is great, but like 90% of it is a lot of stuff that like you don't care to
like
do.
For instance, here's some things that I wouldn't care to do. Like I don't like, for me, my favorite part about the business is like socializing with our clients, going to events, again socializing, and then actually finding the clothing. Like taking the photos I hate, actually putting them on each app I don't like. It's really, really annoying. Like the small little things, like even like creating content sometimes, or editing the content, that's really annoying as well too, right?
Yeah.
But I think right now with our business, especially at the early stages, we don't have that luxury to just outsource everything and have other people do it.
So it'd be nice.
Yeah, be hella nice. But right now at the beginning, we understand it's like, yo, the sacrifice we have to make is to do the things that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I know over time that's really gonna have to pay off, because it's like we're doing them in such a strategic way that there's a goal at the end of it, you know?
Yeah.
So for me anyway, like when I do each task, I try to think about, okay, well, this is the process, get comfortable with it, and like, you know, continue on.
And I feel like at this stage, like it's beneficial for us to be like experts in the things that we are doing, you know what I mean? Because like when we do get to the point when like we are like outsourcing with like, I don't know, someone specifically to do that, or whether it be like an employee or like a contract work, whatever the case may be, like we need to know like what we want out of the things that we're asking of them, and we can't really properly communicate that if we don't know how to do it ourselves, or at least have like some understanding of it generally.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's good like to have like an operations plan in everything that you do, because we should be able to have everything written down so chronologically that we can hand it off to someone and they'll totally understand what to do, you know what I mean? It should be so concise and to the point that literally anyone could just pick it up and do it. And I think like I know that we do have that system in place, but we just haven't like written it down ourselves or whatever, you know?
We haven't like articulated it.
Yeah. But I think for the most part, like that's the reality of a corporation, right? It's like these small gears that make a system that run the machine, you know? And like right now we're building those gears so we can like run that machine smoothly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it's really good. And I think like one thing about being an entrepreneur as well, it's really about like fortune really favors the bold, you know what I mean? For us to go out, for me to like leave my job after like 5 years and to like really take this step together and realize like, hey, like this is a huge risk that we're taking, but the upside of it is so high. I think for us, one of the major things that we like about this is just like the economic freedom that potentially comes with running our own business, and also being able to like build something that's lasts longer than us. I think sometimes I forget about that. It's so funny. Like I literally just reminded myself about that, you know? And that's a part of it. Because like sometimes I get so caught up in the whole idea of like, yeah, we gotta pay this bill, we gotta make this amount of money, or we gotta like have this amount of followers. But the reality of it, it's like this business is for our kids. Like, you know what I mean? And I think like as long as we always have that in the back of our mind, that's the like motivating factor that should always keep us going. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, I don't want to do like shipping. It's like, yo, like little John Al and Colette are gonna reap the biggest rewards off this. So like, let's do it for them. You know?
And we're creating, like you said, like we're creating a legacy and a future, and it's not something that's built overnight. Like I think like one of the things that helps me the most is like I look to the businesses that I admire, like obviously like the like big empire type businesses that I admire, and like I just like understand the fact that like they weren't created in a year or 2 years or five. Like it took years of hard work and dedication. Like it took a lot of ups and downs and like comebacks for them to get to the point where they are right now. So like for me to think that like I can be like easy breezy, smooth sailing in like year 3, 4.
Yeah,
it's like
finishing year 4.
It's like unrealistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it definitely really is unrealistic. But one thing I also want to continue doing is that like taking those smart risks. Because I think if we're only always comfortable in doing the things that work well for us, we're not going to be able to go to that next stage. But we've talked about what we want to do later in the year. I think that's a good solid risk that will hopefully favor us in the end. You know, because. Because the unfortunate thing, I think for me, like one of the anxieties I do have about the business would be like remaining stagnant. Like, you know, we've talked about it being like, oh, I don't want to be 40 still doing like X, Y, and Z when we should be like at a different stage within the business so that we know that the business is going in the right way.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think like we have systems and like goals in place to ensure that we're not going to remain stagnant. But I think at the same time, like you can only really like assess that by looking back. You know, like we'll only ever be able to know if like our actions allowed us to not be stagnant and like move forward in the ways that we desire to move forward by getting there and then reflecting back on our process.
No, 100%.
Because like right now, like I think that the actions that we're going to be taking are going to like push us forward, but like only time will tell, and we'll only know once we actually do it.
Yeah, and I'm excited though because like last week Monday we had sat down and we wrote down like the different ways that we want to make more money within the business, and I think it's exciting. It's nice though because like I know it's not good to like look at other people's businesses, but I think when you're in a certain industry, you have to look at the market and see what is going on, you know? And we kind of realized like, hey, like there's so much potential in doing X. A lot of people aren't doing that. So why can't we capitalize on that, you know? I think that's important because it's like something that you do at your schooling, we're transferring that asset over into the business. So I think it's kind of cool how we're able to like analyze what's working for yourself and FST. It's like, hey, why can't we implement something like that in Clarion & Co?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Especially when like we do see that there is already a demand for it right now.
Yeah.
So like that's like the key, right? Like the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. And the thing that's cool about it too is that like it's so niche to a specific demographic. Like, you know, well the demographic that we're gonna try to like adhere to it first anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's what's really, really cool. And it's like it's kind of cool too because it kind of shows like the growing effect within the business. Is like for us to do something like this, we actually have to like have results within our own business. And then
you have to have some sort of like credibility.
Yeah. So that's what's really, really cool. But honestly, thinking about looking at other businesses, I was sitting down with myself today and I was like, I've realized like sometimes like for me, like I guess it's like maybe like a bit of like envy or a bit of anxiety. I look at other businesses, I'm like, oh man, like, oh, I wish we had that type of product. Or like, oh man, like these guys have like 80 more followers than before. Like, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes I get caught in like these small stupid games that I'm playing with myself, and it's like, yo, John, that stuff doesn't matter. Like, focus on what Clarion & Co is doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, do you ever see yourself like fall into like traps like that?
I feel like I used to be like that before. Like, I don't know, maybe like a couple of years ago, I used to be really, really bad for that. Like, I would literally like wake up and just like scroll through like Instagram or Facebook and just like people watch. But now, like, I don't know, everyone has their journey, and at the same time, like, people are only giving you part of the story. You know what I mean? So, like, no one's, like, telling you, like, yeah, I messed up on this, I failed at this, like, this was, like, a bad decision. Like, no one's broadcasting that. People are just, like, broadcasting their successes and their progression and their development, and everyone has, like, a different journey and path. Like, I think, like, one of the things that, like, has been, like, a detriment to a lot of people in reference to, like, our schooling system is that, like, it forms us and it molds us to think that we're all supposed to go through like different stages of life at the exact same time. It's like it's like when you're in grade 1, you're in grade 1 with all the same people. Grade 2, all the same people. Like, it's like you go through like these major stages with all of the same people until like a certain point where that stops. But it doesn't stop in a sense because like you're still comparing yourself to other people around you, whether it be like them personally, like, oh, like they like have this job or they got this accomplishment or their business is doing that or their business is doing this, whatever the case may be. Like, we have this like natural inclination to compare ourselves to other people, but like we're not all on the same trajectory, not even at all. And like it's not a race to a finish. We all have our own lines and we all have our own like paths that we're going on, and each and every one of those are unique to itself. So like comparing yourself to other people or other businesses, like you're just doing yourself a disservice because you're taking yourself out of your path and you're focusing on someone else's. And when you're focusing on someone else's, you can't do anything for yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's like when you have like what I should be doing is like I need to have my blinders on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we have talked about it numerous times where we want this business to go. So it's like for me to like take a sneak peek at like the other people, I'm doing a disservice for Clarendon Co.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair for Clarendon Co. because like the business is only as good as its leaders, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm able to like become more or less distracted about what everyone else is doing, that means I'm not putting the full effort into what's best for Clarendon Co.
Yeah.
I can look at one of these guys and go, oh wow, they're doing this. Oh, we gotta go do this now. Like you know what I mean?
In the panic mode.
Yeah, in panic mode. When in reality is like, yo, does Clarendon Co. need that? Is that what's best for the business? Like, let's realize what's going on. You know what I mean?
I think like one of the most important things when like situations that like that happen, it's because everyone's human. Like everyone has moments where they like look at someone else or compare their situation to someone else's. But I think like the biggest thing is like you have to identify it. Like you have to be like, okay, this is how I feel right now. This is the feeling I have inside of me. Like, why do I feel this way? And then like go from there and like don't like try to like feel guilty or feel bad about it for feeling a certain way, but like move past it. Like obviously like a lot of the times when you compare yourself to someone else and like you're like, oh, why do they have this and why do they have that, it's because like there's something that you're not happy with within yourself, not necessarily like your accomplishments or anything like that. But I find like for myself personally, like when I had moments when like let's say I would compare myself to someone else, it wasn't necessarily that there was any jealousy or envy. It was more so that I knew I wasn't doing everything that I should be to be successful. You know what I mean? So I think like it's a moment to kind of like do like self-reflection and be like, okay, like why do I feel this way? Why am I envious? Like, am I putting all the effort into my business or whatever the case it is that I'm doing that I should be or not? Maybe that's part of the reason why I feel the way I feel.
No, most definitely. But it's good too because like I think once you recognize that like the way you're feeling and like you found like the source of that, that's when you can start recovering now and like more or less getting over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but you know what it is too. It's also like one of the results that come with social media, especially when our business is heavily influenced on social media. It's like what we talked about on Facebook, right? Everyone has become like bills, babies, or brides. Like, you know what I mean? So everyone, it's constantly like people are just like bragging about this and that. After then, when we're on Instagram, it's constantly people are again showing the best aspects of life, right?
Yeah.
So after a while, when like I feel like, man, am I doing enough for Clarendon Co? Is Clarendon going in the right direction? But it's like, yo, bro, relax.
Yeah.
Like take a deep breath, like, you know, it's a day by day thing, one step at a time, be patient, and just be consistent. It's gonna be fine. Like relax, like we'll be okay.
I think like the one benefit of social media and like just like having like such a direct connection with like so many other businesses nowadays is that like you can really like learn from them a lot of the time. So instead of like using it as a tool of like comparison in a negative way, but like use it as a tool of comparison in like a positive way and a way that's gonna benefit you and like your business's future. So like for example, like one of the things that we do is like we will look to other businesses to see like, hey, like what items are working well for them, what items seem to sell really quickly, what items do like certain demographics like, whether it be like younger people, older people, men, women, and we kind of try to like tailor the certain items that we pick based off of like our research from our own business as well as like the research from like seeing what sells well for other people. So
yeah, and I think that's a really good tool to use too, analyzing what's going on in your community. You know what I mean? Because I think when we first started the business, we had no idea like what our demographic was and what our potential demographic even wanted.
Yeah,
so I think what we really had to do was just copy people. We took a look and realized, hey, like, well, these guys are selling these similar items. We have that same access to those pieces as well. Why not try and cater our market a lot more, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's important. It's like not only with like selling, but maybe with like there's a system that they're doing well, we can use that as a tool. Not to be like, man, I'm envious. Like, how come this is working for them? It's not for us. It's like, well, well, we clearly know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Let's try and learn from these guys.
Yeah.
And use that as like almost. It's crazy because what do they say? It's like what is it? Flattery, copying.
Flattery is.
Mimicking is the most form of like what is it? Like copying and flattery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Copying is the highest
It's form of flattery. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna copy your shit because you're doing well, man. I don't care if you call me a copycat or not. Because, like, it's working for the both of us, so
And like
I barely
realistically,
care.
like the whole idea of like any business idea being a new idea, like yeah, for sure. Like sometimes
There are some.
things that are really, really new and innovative, but like in this day and age, like no one's Einstein. Like no one's inventing electricity. That was
Right.
Einstein, right?
I don't know. I said that E equals MC squared. I don't know. I think
I don't know. Edison, whatever, someone.
You know what's funny? We had another one of these talks. I was laughing not too long ago, and you were talking about the guy who invented the light bulb. You're like Bell, that Alexander Graham Bell. But I think Alexander Graham Bell did the phone, right? The telephone. Bell Canada?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're not good at those science guys, eh? It's like twice now, man.
Honestly, I don't know.
not
Either
your
way, like I use the light bulb. I like electricity. Like it's
you know,
cool.
yeah, it
All
does
I'm trying
make
to say is that in this day and age, like there's very few and far in between brand spanking new ideas that you're gonna come up with.
And who cares if your idea isn't new, man? Who
It doesn't
cares?
matter.
As long as you're able to bring it to the market and your market is able to enjoy it, it does not matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter. I literally thought about that today because I see like thousands and thousands of people doing the Toronto versus everyone or something versus everyone t-shirts or
Toronto is home or something.
and they all sell. Like they're all really successful and they're all just like doing their own printed t-shirts that were based off of like this idea from like I don't know who originally started doing it, but they're all making money, they're all in business, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, it can't be that bad, you know what I mean? But it's kind of cool though, because it's like we like for me, I have this idea of like the next transition of vintage people. So for the most part, they start out as people who just like vintage clothing. They just buy from like stores or whatever. Then they transition over into a vintage reseller, and then the next step would be like a wholesaler and then a distributor. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool how within vintage, you can go to the next level. And like when that market becomes oversaturated, like the printed T-shirts thing, after a while, it's like after being a retailer, maybe you're the guy that's helping everyone print the T-shirts or whatever the case may be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then maybe you're the guy that's sourcing the materials or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's always cool to like, whatever business you're in, there is so much potential to grow. There's always a next level that you can really go for, you know? So I think that's really, really dope. One thing I want to talk about quickly though, when people gas you up, when people are like, yo, like, you guys are doing good, I see what you guys are doing, you know what I mean? Or the opposite side, when no one says anything, it's like, oh, well, working so hard, like, why aren't we getting the, like, roses, or whatever the case may be, you know? The credit that's due to us, you know? And I think it's like, either way, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about, like, sometimes I feel envious about other people. It's like, we have to know why we're running the business and what's best for us.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, the flattery doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
it's nice. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice, but it's like,
it's
not something that
nice.
we can hold on
It's
to.
nice, but okay, what's nice? Like, great, I appreciate the kind words and I appreciate all of that, but it's like, at the end of the day, like, flattery doesn't run your business. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to hear that, like, the information or that we're providing or, like, whatever we're doing is, like, impactful in one way or another, which is, like, part of the reason why we do this. But at the same time, like, you can't get too caught up in the flattery or too caught up in the expectations of other people, because at the end of the day, that's not necessarily what matters.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you get too caught up in it, it's because you're using that as a sense of currency. You're like, oh, well, 20 people liked our stuff today, so that clearly means we're doing something. It's almost like the self-gratification that you're getting out of it, right? But in reality, it's like the business is going to figure that out. Despite what anyone else says, yeah, it's nice or whatever, but you have to focus on what's best for the business.
And, like, to be honest, to me, like, the highest form of flattery is a successful business.
Yeah.
Like that's all I really care about.
Yeah. Hey, there's nothing more like successful than being able to pay your bills, man. it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's one thing I really want to like focus on for this next 2 weeks is like I want to get out of the mindset like stop looking at everyone as a competitor. I'm gonna start looking at them more so as like a teacher. Like how can I learn from you guys? You know what I mean? I think when you're able to like rebrand certain feelings, that's when you're able to be like, oh wow, like I was looking at this the wrong way the whole time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we don't always need to like be in some type of competition that we feel less or we feel greater, we feel better than someone. It's like,
yeah.
it's like,
And I feel like flattery is kind of like a form of currency in that competition. But like if you eliminate the competition, and the flattery doesn't really matter as much.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Forget the flattery. Okay, so any last words before we jump out of here?
You know, I'm short and sweet.
Short and sweet. You're like a little treat. Okay. What are my last words? For myself, I would want to say, guys, keep pushing on, because it's gonna get tougher and tougher. But through all that adversity, you have to remain resilient, and things will become better in the end. You know, even with us when we first started this business, it was crap for the first like year and a half. You know, and now this is like the other year and a half. Now we're being able to like see the successes of everything we've done before. So it's like, stick to your wits, continue trying, be innovative, don't be afraid to change. And I think at the end, everything usually does work out for itself, you know what I mean?
It works out as it should.
Yeah, it all works out as it should. But also be strategic. Don't expect to just do it and hopefully it works out. Like, sit down and write something down. 100%. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us again on this week's episode of
Wow.
Yeah, I'm messing. I was even gonna say the drop.
Honestly, I'm gonna do it. Honestly, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Business is Pleasure. We'll see you again next week. Peace.
Little more, yeah? Okay.